This screencast takes a look at the primary source that we're working with today for lesson 7.7, and you're talking about the differing viewpoints of Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson. We've kind of already gone over this on the day that we talked about economic issues in lesson 7.2, so this should be somewhat of a review. So we should know who these guys are and kind of what they're all about. So in today's lesson, you're going to look at the works of Hamilton and Jefferson to further examine their differing viewpoints on government and economics. If you remember, they had two very different ideas. So here's our to-do list for the day. Before you clicked this video, you should have reviewed the primary sources fact sheet and the steps to working with primary sources fact sheet, as well as watch the Intro to Primary Sources PowerPoint if you needed it. Basically, guys, I want us to take a look at this because primary sources aren't easy, and they're not something that we should do very quickly. We should always look at the fact sheet, always look at the worksheet. I've even put in the screencasts for you, so you should be able to go through all of those and really remember that a primary source is an original record. And that means that this is our way of looking back into the past and seeing exactly what they said. So although the language might be a little weird or hard, this is really important because this is a direct step and link into the past. So today you are completing this primary source activity. Don't worry, it doesn't count as a quiz. So here's our instructions. Please examine the following speech given by Thomas Jefferson. The definitions for unfamiliar terms are provided in parentheses for you. Remember, take your time and think before submitting your answer. Here is our general background. One of the issues that faced George Washington's new government was how to handle the country's finances. In February 1791, he asked two members of his cabinet for their ideas about a national bank. Guess who? Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton. The excerpts below show their responses. Here's a little background on our first guy, Thomas Jefferson. He was the Secretary of State. He believed in limited power for the central government. He also spoke for the interests of farmers who were often in debt. His supporters were later called Republicans. This is what he said. Again, I have bolded terms that you may not know and provided definitions to help you. I consider the foundation of the Constitution as laid on this ground, that all powers not delegated, given to, the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited, not allowed, by it to the states, are reserved to the states or to the people. To take a single step beyond the boundaries, thus specially drawn around the powers of Congress, is to take possession of a boundless or endless field of power, no longer susceptible or subject to any definition. The incorporation, forming into a business or creation, of a bank and the powers assumed or given by this bill have not, in my opinion, been delegated or given to the United States by the Constitution. So we're going to go ahead and answer this question using complete sentences and information from the text. So why does Jefferson oppose the creation of a national bank? He does not want a national bank. Take a look at the text that I have just read. You can pause, rewind, listen to it as many times as you want, and figure out the answer. When you're ready, hit the next button. But always make sure that you're writing in complete sentences and relating your answer back to the text. I'm going to hit the next button for now. So again, we have the same general background here. We're still talking about Thomas Jefferson. So here is the rest of what he said. The incorporation or creation of a bank and the powers assumed by this bill have not, in my opinion, been delegated or given to the states by the Constitution. It has been urged that a bank will give great facility, ease, or convenience, comfort in the collection of taxes. Suppose this were true, yet the Constitution allows only the names of which are necessary, not those which are merely convenient or easy, for effecting the enumerated, given powers. If such a latitude, freedom, of construction be allowed to this phrase as to give any non-enumerated, not given power, it will go to every one, for there is not one with which ingenuity, or a clever method, may not torture into a convenience, situation where something is easy, in some instance or other. Again, feel free to pause, stop, rewind. Use this to help you. Please answer the following question using complete sentences and relating your answer to the text. What does Jefferson think will happen if the Constitution is not followed strictly? So take a look at the text I have for you there and the material provided. From there, express your answer in a complete sentence relating it to what we've just read. When you're ready, hit the next button. So now we are switching to Alexander Hamilton. And Alexander Hamilton was the Secretary of the Treasury at the time. Remember, him and Jefferson were both in the cabinet, which is the group that advised the president. Hamilton was the Secretary of the Treasury. The national bank was his idea. He favored the interests of merchants and bankers. His supporters were called Federalists because they wanted a strong central government. Hamilton won this argument. The Bank of the United States was set up on February 25, 1791. So remember, Hamilton is our Secretary of Treasury. It was his idea to have a bank. He wins this argument. Here's what he said. This restrictive or limiting interpretation of the word necessary is also contrary or against to this sound maxim truth of construction. Namely, that the powers contained in a constitution of government, especially those which concern the general administration of the affairs of a country, its finances, trade, defense, etc., ought to, or should, be construed liberally, or loosely, in advancement of the public good. The means by which national exigencies, things that are necessary, are to be provided for, national inconveniences, not easily found or available, obviated or avoided, national prosperity, successful, promoted, are of such infinite, without number, variety, extent, and complexity or complicated, that there must of necessity be great latitude or a line of discretion, being careful in the selection and application of those means. So here we need to, as always, answer our question in complete sentences, referencing the text. Find out why Hamilton wants to interpret the Constitution loosely. So look back in the text and find out why Hamilton wants to interpret the Constitution loosely. Construct that answer using complete sentences, and when you're ready, hit next. Here is our last one for today. We're still talking about Alexander Hamilton. This is the end of what he said. And remember, he's our Secretary of Treasury. National Bank was his idea. He really supported the interests of merchants and bankers. His supporters were called Federalists, and he won this argument creating the U.S. National Bank. It leaves, therefore, a criterion, something to make a decision, of what is constitutional and of what isn't. This criterion, something used to make a decision, is the end to which the measure relates as a means. If the end be clearly comprehended or understood within any of the specified exact powers, and if the measure have an obvious relation to that end, and is not forbidden by any particular provision, act of supplying, of the Constitution, it may safely be deemed or thought of in a specific way to come within the compass of the national authority. So again, please use this reading to fast forward, slow down, listen to 60 times, whatever you need, and answer the following question using complete sentences referring to the text. How would Hamilton decide if a law was unconstitutional? When you're ready, go ahead and hit that next button on the bottom, and make sure you hit Submit All and Finish before you're done. You can always call or email me today if you have any questions regarding this. You got this. Good luck.